The Appalachian Mountains stretch for more than 2,000 miles across the eastern United States. Most days, they're beautiful. Quiet forests. Rolling hills. Small towns where everyone knows everyone. But locals will tell you there are places you shouldn't visit after dark. Places where strange sounds echo through the woods. Places where people vanish. Places where something always seems to be watching. Tonight, I'll share 3 terrifying stories from Appalachia that still can't be explained. So turn off the lights. Lock your doors. And let's begin. In October 2019, a college student named Ethan went hiking alone in eastern Kentucky. At a gas station, a clerk mentioned a place called Raven Hollow. "Beautiful spot," he said. "But if you hear whistling after dark, don't answer it." Ethan laughed and continued on. By sunset, he reached the hollow and set up camp. As darkness settled in, the forest became unnaturally quiet. No birds. No insects. Nothing. Around 8:30 p.m., he heard a whistle from deep in the trees. Long, slow. Human. A few minutes later, it came again. This time it repeated the exact tune Ethan had been whistling earlier. Someone or something had been listening. Then a third whistle sounded directly behind him. Ethan spun around. Nothing. Soon, footsteps began circling his campsite. Whenever he shined his flashlight into the woods, the sound stopped. Finally, he shouted, "Who's there?" A voice answered from the darkness. His own voice. Perfectly mimicking him. "Who's there?" Terrified, Ethan packed his gear and left. But the footsteps followed him through the forest. Hours passed. Then he noticed something impossible. He kept passing the same fallen tree over and over again, as if the woods were trapping him. Near midnight, he spotted a tall figure standing between 2 trees. The moment his flashlight hit it, the figure stepped backward and vanished. Ethan ran until dawn. Weeks later, he found a mysterious recording on his phone made that night. The screen was black. First came footsteps. Then whistling. Then his own voice whispering. "Almost got you." He deleted the file immediately. But every year since that hike, Ethan receives a voicemail from an unknown number. 3 seconds long. Nothing but whistling. And each year, it sounds a little closer. In 2021, Rachel worked the overnight shift at a small Appalachian gas station. One rainy night around 1:40 a.m., she noticed a hooded man standing beneath a security camera outside. At first, she ignored him. But after 40 minutes, he still hadn't moved. Concerned, Rachel checked the security monitor. That's when she noticed something strange. Every time she looked away and then back at the screen, the man appeared closer. Not walking. Not moving. Just suddenly closer. Soon he was standing near the gas pumps. Rachel rewound the footage. There was no recording of him crossing the parking lot. One frame he was far away. The next frame he wasn't. Uneasy, she locked the front door and called her manager. No answer. When she looked outside again, the man was gone. Relieved, she checked another camera. The hooded figure was now standing beside the employee entrance. Rachel rushed to the back door. Still locked. No sounds outside. Then her phone buzzed. Motion detected inside the building. The alert came from the storage room. A room with no windows. Rachel opened the camera feed. At first it looked empty. Then she noticed a dark shape standing motionless in the corner, watching the camera. She immediately called the police. Officers searched the entire station but found nothing. No footprints. No signs of entry. Nothing. Reviewing the footage, they discovered every camera briefly lost signal at exactly 2:13 a.m. When the video returned, the hooded man was gone. Months later, Rachel quit and moved away. Then a former coworker sent her upgraded footage from that night. Hidden in the reflection of the front door was something terrifying. The hooded man wasn't outside. He was standing directly behind Rachel inside the store. The email was opened at exactly 2:13 a.m. Rachel never responded. In 2017, a search and rescue team in West Virginia was looking for a missing hiker. 3 days later, they found his body at the bottom of a ravine. The search was over. Or so they thought. That evening, a volunteer named Mark heard a voice crackle through a radio. "Help me." Several team members recognized it as the missing hiker. The problem was obvious. The man was already dead. The transmission continued, repeating a set of coordinates deep in the mountains. Most assumed it was interference. But the voice kept returning. Eventually, Mark and a small group decided to investigate. Near midnight, they followed the coordinates into a remote forest. The deeper they traveled, the stranger things became. GPS devices failed. Compasses spun wildly. Yet the voice remained clear, guiding them forward. Hours later, they reached the location. There was nothing there except a clearing surrounded by ancient trees. Then the radio crackled again. "You found me." Silence followed. One volunteer noticed names carved into a nearby tree. Dozens of them. Many belonged to people who had disappeared in the region over the years. Suddenly, every radio activated at once. Different voices filled the air. Whispering. Crying. Begging for help. The team fled. Years later, Mark received an old radio in the mail with no return address. When he turned it on, the dead hiker's voice returned. But this time it said only one thing. "You're getting closer." Mark tried throwing the radio away. The next morning it was back on his kitchen table. Since then, it occasionally broadcasts strange coordinates that don't exist on any map. Mark claimed he never followed them. But one friend later visited his house and found a map covered in circles and notes. One location had been marked again and again. Soon after, Mark disappeared. No trace of him was ever found. Some people believe every strange event has a logical explanation. Others believe there are places where logic simply stops working. Maybe Appalachia is one of those places. Or maybe the mountains are hiding something we've never fully understood. If you enjoyed tonight's stories, let me know which one disturbed you the most. And if you're new here, subscribe to Nightmare After Midnight for more terrifying tales, unexplained encounters, and stories that stay with you long after the video ends. Until next time, stay out of the dark. And if you hear someone whistling from the woods, make sure they whistle first.